friend of mine got arrested for a felony offense, and
Let me stop you there. A friend of yours?
friend.
A friend, not you.
Correct.
Okay, a friend. All right, we're
So-
talking about this friend.
Hypothetically.
Okay.
All right, so he was arrested. He was hauled down to the jail. He was given a court date. Ultimately, he was released. When he showed up for the court date, they told him that his charges were, quote, scratched. It's been so long now, I don't think the charges can come back. But there's a worry about a background check and what's going to show up, if anything, given the scratched charges that were not actually filed.
Let me explain what the term scratch means. That's a slang term for your court appearance was vacated, which would have been the preliminary hearing, and the state has now got 7 years from the date that they knew a crime was committed to file on you. This is on most crimes. Not everyone, like if it's a homicide, maybe a sex offense case, they may have an unlimited amount of time. But typically, let's say an armed robbery or a burglary, the state or the police know that there was a crime committed, you get arrested, and then your court date is set up, you've been released from jail on bond or maybe OR, and you show up for court and they're like, it's been scratched. That means vacated, and it also means, and the court needs to tell people this, hey, you can be charged up to 7 years from now, and if you're not, then it goes away. Now, going to your question, a background check. A background check can show an arrest. They don't always show arrests. Sometimes they show arrests that really never even occurred. But if it does show an arrest, it won't show a disposition or a final answer to what you were arrested for. And that can be a problem for a lot of people because let's say it's an employer. And they say, well, go get me something that shows that this was dismissed. It's not a dismissal. That's what I tell people. I've told them for 31 years. That term scratch or vacated means the prosecutors, the county attorney's office typically, never got around to filing a complaint against you. And one reason may be they looked at the police report that was submitted and believed, hey, this case is terrible, or there's not enough here to prosecute the person, or the witnesses recanted their story, whatever it happens to be, but somebody actually reviewed it and said, nah, we don't have anything here. So then that's it. But that arrest record will stay there from time until eternity runs, and you'll have to explain it away. So when the employer you're about ready to get hired with says, hey, get me something from the court that shows this was dismissed, there is nothing to show it's been dismissed officially. You could get a copy of a docket that would show nothing happened after that. Well, actually, that wouldn't even work either because the arrest never goes into the court docket. There will be potentially a case number assigned, which is a PF number in Superior Court, and that means pre-filing. And if there's a record of that and then nothing afterwards, common sense would dictate there were no charges filed against you, which means they were never adjudicated. In other words, you were never found guilty of anything. It's sort of, you're having to look for something that doesn't exist, and that can be a real problem. I am not aware of anything in the state of Arizona to allow you to seal or expunge an arrest record. I'm not sure it can be done. The only way is if you're dealing with somebody that's fairly intelligent in terms of an employer, and you can tell them, hey, here's my docket. It shows pre-filing number, and it doesn't show anything else. And it shows a court appearance date that eventually was vacated. So it's a hard thing to do. Again, and I've said this before, we do not have an expungement statute in the state of Arizona. If you are convicted of something, expungement means you take it out of the public record, so it's no longer there. We don't have that in Arizona. You can move or apply to set aside the judgment, and then the notation on your criminal background check says judgment set aside. Well, I mean, quite honestly, from a practical standpoint, it doesn't mean a lot. I mean, it might, if somebody is listening to what you have to say about it and firmly believes it was set aside and you've paid your debt to society, great. But does it really have that effect? I don't think so. And I've done this for people before and they still have issues. So I hope that explains your question relative to the term scratched. And if they don't file on you within 7 years, then that's it. Too late. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
This posted video is in no way specific legal advice on any subject. It is intended to provide general information for the public. If you need specific legal advice, call Chuck at 480-545-0700.